You're 45 minutes from boarding. Your bags are packed, your boarding pass is ready, you've done this 100 times. But then you get to security and the TSA agent pulls your bag aside. Your heart drops. What now? They unzip it slowly, pulling out item after item as everyone behind you watches. And then they hold it up. That innocent item you packed without thinking twice, the one that just cost you your flight. This isn't a horror story from 5 years ago. This is happening right now at airports across America, and the rules that are catching people have gotten stricter, sneakier, and more expensive than ever before. The carry-on game has completely changed for 2026, and if you're still packing like it's 2022, you're walking into a minefield. Airlines and TSA have quietly rolled out a wave of new restrictions that are costing travelers thousands in fees, hours in delays, and in some cases, their entire trip. But here's the thing. Most of these disasters are completely avoidable if you know what you're walking into. Today, we're exposing the hidden traps that are catching even experienced travelers off guard and showing you exactly how to outsmart every single one. By the end of this, you'll know more about the new rules than half the TSA agents screening your bags. Let's get into it. First up, and this one is catching more people than anything else, the battery ban that nobody saw coming. You probably know you can't check lithium batteries. That's been the rule for years. But what's new for 2026 is how aggressive TSA has become about enforcing the watt-hour limits and how many batteries are getting flagged that used to fly under the radar. Here's what's happening. Any lithium battery over 100 watt-hours is now banned from both carry-on and checked bags unless you get special airline approval in advance. And that approval process, it's a nightmare. Most airlines require at least 72 hours notice and written documentation. But here's the real problem. Most people have no idea how many watt-hours their devices actually have. That portable battery you bought on Amazon, if it doesn't have the watt-hour rating clearly printed on it, TSA can and will confiscate it. No label means no flight, period. Even worse, the new scanners they're using can detect the size of batteries inside your electronics. That massive power bank you thought was carry-on safe, if it scans over the limit, you're losing it. And it's not just power banks. Professional camera batteries, drone batteries, even some high-capacity laptop batteries are getting flagged. One photographer in Denver lost $600 worth of camera batteries because they exceeded the limit and he had no backup plan. The solution starts before you even leave home. Check every single battery-powered device you're packing. Look for the watt-hour rating. If it's not clearly marked, don't bring it. For power banks, stick with anything under 27,000 milliamp hours. That's the sweet spot that stays safely under 100 watt-hours. And here's a pro tip that'll save you massive headaches. Take a photo of all your battery labels before you pack. If a TSA agent questions something, you can pull up the proof instantly on your phone. It's the difference between losing your gear and making your flight. Next, let's talk about the food rule chaos that's causing major confusion. You'd think bringing snacks on a plane would be simple. It's not. The TSA has always had weird rules about food, but in 2026, they're enforcing them with laser focus, and the dividing line that determines if your food flies or gets tossed is simpler than you think. If you can spread it, pour it, or pump it, it's considered a liquid. That means your peanut butter sandwich isn't just a sandwich, it's a liquid violation. That jar of honey you're bringing is a gift? Liquid. Your kid's squeezable applesauce pouch? Definitely a liquid. And all of these fall under the 3.4-ounce rule. But here's where it gets really confusing. Solid foods are almost always allowed. A block of cheese? Totally fine. But that same cheese, if it's a soft spread, now it's a liquid. Whole apples and oranges? No problem. But a smoothie or juice? Forget it, unless it's under 3.4 ounces. The TSA is also cracking down hard on international food items. If you're flying back from abroad with food, be extra careful. Meat products, fresh fruits, and certain vegetables are banned by customs, even if the TSA lets them through security. One family returning from Italy had to throw away an entire suitcase worth of cured meats and cheeses at customs because they didn't realize the rules applied to personal quantities.
The smart move is to pack strategically. Solid snacks like granola bars, crackers, nuts, and dried fruit are your best friends. They're TSA approved, they won't make a mess, and they won't get confiscated. If you absolutely need to bring liquids, use those 3.4-ounce travel containers and put them in your quart-size bag with your other liquids. And if you're traveling internationally, just skip the food souvenirs unless you're absolutely certain they're allowed. The risk isn't worth the hassle. Now here's a rule that's been quietly wreaking havoc on international travelers. The laptop and electronics rule has evolved, and not in a good way. For years, the standard was simple. Laptops over a certain size had to come out of your bag. Done. But with the rollout of those new CT scanners at select airports, the rules have become maddeningly inconsistent. Some airports let you leave everything in your bag. Others make you pull out every single electronic device bigger than a phone. There's no universal system, and TSA agents at different checkpoints are enforcing completely different standards. Here's what's catching people. Those CT scanner lanes that let you leave laptops in your bag, they're still the minority. Most security checkpoints still use the old X-ray machines, and at those checkpoints, the rules have actually gotten stricter. You now have to remove tablets, e-readers, portable DVD players, and even some larger portable gaming devices. Basically, if it's bigger than a smartphone, it needs to come out. But the real nightmare scenario is this. You pack your bag perfectly for a CT scanner lane because that's what your home airport has. Then you land somewhere else for a connection and they're using old scanners. Now you have to unpack your entire bag at security while 50 people behind you are giving you death stares. The solution is to pack for the worst-case scenario. Always assume you're going through an old-school checkpoint. Keep all your large electronics easily accessible near the top of your bag. Use a separate electronics organizer or pouch that you can pull out quickly. That way, whether you're at a cutting-edge airport or one that's still living in 2015, you're ready. And here's an insider hack. If you have TSA pre-check, you get to leave your electronics in your bag at all checkpoints, even the old ones. If you fly more than twice a year, that $78 fee pays for itself in time saved and stress avoided. Let's shift gears to something that's catching international travelers completely off guard, the medication documentation nightmare. Bringing prescription meds on a plane has always been allowed, but the enforcement around how you pack them and what documentation you need has gotten incredibly strict. Here's the new reality. If you're traveling with any medication, especially controlled substances like ADHD medication, anxiety meds, or painkillers, you need more than just the pill bottle. TSA and customs agents are now routinely asking for actual prescription documentation or a letter from your doctor. And if you can't produce it, they can confiscate your medication on the spot. This is especially brutal for people who use those weekly pill organizers or who transferred their meds into smaller containers to save space. If your medication isn't in its original labeled prescription bottle, you're risking major problems. One traveler on a flight to London had 2 months' worth of anxiety medication confiscated because it was in an unmarked container and she couldn't prove it was prescribed to her. The flight triggered a panic attack and she spent the first 3 days of her trip trying to find a UK doctor who would give her an emergency prescription. Even over-the-counter medications are facing more scrutiny. If you're bringing large quantities of things like ibuprofen or allergy medication, especially internationally, some countries consider that importing pharmaceuticals, and you could face fines or even arrest. The safe way to handle this is simple but requires planning. First, always keep medications in their original labeled bottles. If you're worried about space, ask your pharmacy for the smallest bottle size. Second, get a letter from your doctor on official letterhead listing all your prescriptions, dosages, and confirming they're medically necessary. This is especially critical for controlled substances. Third, keep all medication in your carry-on, never in checked bags. If your luggage gets lost, you don't want to lose your medication with it. And finally, if you're traveling internationally, research the specific medication rules for your destination country. Some substances that are legal in the US are completely banned elsewhere.
Here's something that shocks people every single time: the container size trap that has nothing to do with the 3.4-ounce rule. You probably think that as long as your liquid container is 3.4 ounces or less, you're good to go. Wrong. The container has to actually contain 3.4 ounces or less of product. Sounds obvious, but here's where people get caught. That half-empty 8-ounce shampoo bottle? Even though there's only 2 ounces of shampoo left in it, the container is 8 ounces. That's a violation. TSA doesn't care how much is actually in there. They care about the size of the container itself. And yes, they will make you throw it away. The same trap catches people with luxury skincare products, expensive serums, and that fancy face cream you don't want to leave behind. Even if you've used 3/4 of it, if the container is marked as 4 ounces, it's not getting through. One woman at LAX had to throw away a $150 jar of face cream because the jar was marked 5 ounces, even though there was barely an ounce left inside. The TSA agent didn't care. Rules are rules. The fix is tedious but necessary. Transfer everything into containers that are actually 3.4 ounces or smaller. Buy a set of TSA-approved travel bottles and decant your products at home. Label them clearly so you know what's what. And yes, this means that full-size tube of toothpaste has to stay home, even though you swear you'll only use a little bit. Container size, not content amount. Remember that, and you'll save yourself from that walk of shame to the trash can. Now let's talk about something that's causing absolute chaos at gates. The personal item crackdown that's more aggressive than ever. For years, the personal item has been a gray area. As long as it wasn't huge, gate agents let it slide. Those days are over. In 2026, airlines are losing money on checked bag fees because people have gotten too good at maximizing their carry-on allowance. So they're fighting back by enforcing personal item dimensions with military precision. That oversized tote bag you've been using for years, the backpack that's technically too big but always fit under the seat, the duffel bag you squeeze under there with sheer willpower, all of them are now targets. Gate agents have been given quotas. They're literally looking for oversized personal items to tag and charge for. And the fees are brutal. $50, $75, sometimes more if it's an international flight. Here's the trap. You sail through check-in and security with no issues, but when you get to the gate, an agent spots your bag and pulls you aside. Suddenly, you're either cramming everything into your already full carry-on, which probably puts it over the weight limit in countries where that matters, or you're paying a gate check fee that's double what you would have paid online. The smart play is to know your airline's exact personal item dimensions before you pack. Most airlines allow something around 18 by 14 by 8 inches, but it varies. Measure your bag. Seriously, get a tape measure and check it. If it's even close to the limit, downsize. Use a slim laptop bag, a small backpack, or a structured purse. Pack it so it looks compact, not bulging at the seams. A neat, organized bag gets way less attention than one that's clearly stuffed to the breaking point. And here's a psychological trick. If your personal item looks expensive and professional, like a leather briefcase or designer handbag, gate agents are less likely to question it. It's the beat-up, overstuffed backpacks that get flagged first. Let's hit on something that business travelers need to know immediately, the portable printer and electronics ban that nobody's talking about. Certain types of electronics that used to be carry-on staples are now banned or heavily restricted, and most people have no idea until they're at the gate. Portable printers with ink cartridges? Banned from carry-on on many airlines due to fire risk from the cartridges. Certain types of hoverboards and self-balancing scooters? Completely banned from both carry-on and checked bags on all U.S. airlines. E-cigarettes and vaping devices? Allowed in carry-on only, never checked, and you absolutely cannot use them on the plane. Even having one out can get you arrested. The list keeps growing, and enforcement varies wildly by airline and airport. The common thread is fire risk. Anything with lithium batteries, pressurized containers, or flammable liquids is under heavy scrutiny. One sales rep had his portable label maker confiscated because the agent claimed the batteries were too large. It took him an hour to prove they were within limits, and he missed his flight. The best defense is to check the TSA prohibited items list before every trip. It's updated regularly, and it's searchable. If you're bringing anything electronic, anything that heats up, or anything with batteries, double-check that it's allowed. And if it's borderline, either leave it home or be prepared to check it at the counter before security. The 5 minutes you spend researching could save you from losing something expensive or missing your flight entirely. Here's the final trap that's creating massive problems at checkpoints. The Real ID enforcement that's no longer optional. As of May 7th, 2025, if your driver's license doesn't have that little star in the corner, it's not getting you through TSA for a domestic flight. Period. This deadline has been pushed back multiple times over the years, so a lot of people assumed it would get pushed again. It didn't. And now millions of travelers are showing up to airports with IDs that TSA won't accept.
The chaos at some airports has been unbelievable. People missing flights, screaming at TSA agents, frantically trying to figure out alternative IDs. If you don't have a real ID-compliant license, you need to bring your passport for domestic flights. No exceptions. And here's what's catching people. Some states have both Real ID and standard licenses available. You have to specifically request the Real ID version and provide extra documentation to get it. If you just renewed your license without paying attention, you might have gotten the standard one. Check your license right now. No star? You need to fix that before your next flight or bring your passport. The backup plan that saves people is simple. Always travel with your passport for domestic flights, even if your license is compliant. Passports never expire in terms of TSA acceptance, even if they're technically expired for international travel. As long as it's a valid U.S. passport document, they'll accept it for identity verification. It's one extra thing to carry, but it's the ultimate insurance policy against ID problems. Flying in 2026 is a completely different game than it was even 2 years ago. The rules are stricter, the enforcement is more aggressive, and the penalties for getting it wrong are more expensive. But here's the good news. Every single one of these traps is avoidable if you know they exist. Before your next flight, do these things. Check every battery for watt-hour ratings, pack food intelligently and keep spreads at home, keep electronics accessible and organized, carry medication documentation, use properly sized containers, measure your personal item, research any unusual electronics you're bringing, and verify your ID is Real ID compliant or bring your passport. These steps take maybe 20 minutes before you leave home, but they'll save you from fees, confiscations, missed flights, and that horrible sinking feeling when a TSA agent pulls your bag aside. The era of winging it at the airport is over. Prepared travelers win. Unprepared travelers pay. Which one are you going to be?